This is a stimulus check update and daily news report. Got some important updates to share with you. Gas stimulus checks are going out. One new state has just suspended their gas tax, and there's new stimulus checks for inflation. 11 states plan to send tax rebates worth up to $850 each to millions of Americans, and lawmakers draft a bill for stimulus checks to residents. On a federal level, Democrats are pushing $300 per month gas stimulus checks. I'll give you some other updates with that. Joe Manchin has been privately negotiating with the Build Back Better plan and gave some revisions behind closed doors. President Biden has given an announcement at NATO about the use of chemical weapons in Russia and that the food shortages are getting real, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 to my subscribers. I'll talk more about that later on, but first, Senator Joe Manchin signals willingness to support revised Build Back Better plan, new report says. So Joe Manchin said he is open to negotiating a revised Build Back Better plan. The moderate Democrat came out in opposition to Biden's economic agenda late last year, putting it to a halt, but it looks like there is a new type of negotiations going on. Senator Manchin privately proposes revisions to Build Back Better bill. So compared to last time where everything was on display in public, looks like Joe Manchin is negotiating behind closed doors, and I'm sure once something important comes out, we'll all know about it, but at this point, they're being very secretive of what the progress is with that. And these states have suspended gas tax amid record prices. So there's been a lot of talk of many states doing it. Officially, there's only 3 states. The latest one is Connecticut, which is pausing 25 cents per gallon from April 1st until June 30th. And the other 2 states are Maryland and Georgia. Take a look at this video clip right here, given the latest of gas state tax suspension and stimulus checks and other news. Take a look at this.
Gas prices continue to be a major concern for so many of us here, and more states are stepping in to give some relief by temporarily suspending gas taxes. ABC News' Rhiannon Alley has more.
The pain at the pump continues even as gas prices have dropped slightly in recent weeks. The national average is now $4.24 per gallon.
You know, the gas prices are high. Everybody can't afford those gas prices.
In Oregon, thieves are stealing gas, targeting these U-Haul trucks.
All of our trucks have been vandalized.
Lawmakers under pressure to act. Connecticut is the latest state to pass legislation to temporarily suspend the state's 25-cent per gallon gas tax.
What we're trying to do with these tax cuts is do everything we can to provide a little bit of relief to people.
Georgia and Michigan passing similar measures. Maryland was the first state to suspend its gas tax, shaving 36 cents a gallon off gasoline, effective immediately for 30 days, saving the average driver $5 to fill up.
The dramatic spikes at the gas pump, at the grocery store, and elsewhere are hard to ignore.
In Chicago, long lines for former mayoral candidate Dr. Willie Wilson's free gas giveaway. It's the second one this month.
People that need the $50 a piece of gasoline, I'm enjoying it more than them enjoying it.
In Los Angeles, the average gallon is now more than $6. California Governor Gavin Newsom proposing a $400 rebate per registered car. That's up to $800 per family, and pushing lawmakers to make public transit free for 3 months. But if passed, it wouldn't take effect until July. Lawmakers across the country are appealing to the federal government for relief in a way that would look a lot like COVID-era stimulus checks. Kira?
All right, Rhiannon Alley.
What are your thoughts on that? Gas stimulus checks versus gas tax suspension, rising prices with everything. Let me know your thoughts on all of that. So, and now gas stimulus checks. That seems to be the new trend. We're starting to see it on a state level. I'll get to the federal level in a moment. So that's what we're seeing here, the new trend. And also, stimulus checks for inflation. 11 states plan to send tax rebates worth up to $850 each to millions of Americans. There's also another state, so it's actually 12 states. But first, I'll go through this list. So Maine wants to send $850 checks. So she said the average person will spend an extra $560 this year because of inflation. So Maine residents will get $850 there. Georgia. So Georgia and Brian Kemp just signed a law on Wednesday that will see Americans Americans in the Peach State get up to $500, so $500 stimulus checks in Georgia. Then in California, they're proposing $400 for each registered vehicle. So if someone owns, or it's capped out at 2 cars. So if someone owns 2 cars, that's $800. If someone owns 5 cars, it's still only $800. That's still in proposal stage there in California. Then Indiana is giving out $125 stimulus checks due to a surplus. New Jersey is giving out $500 for 1 million families as part of the administration budget deal last year. Minnesota giving out $500 checks to individuals, $1,000 checks to couples. New Mexico is giving out a one-time $500 check for families or joint filers, $250 check for individuals. New York, the governor proposed a $2.2 billion middle-class property tax rebate for 2.5 million homeowners, so something a little bit different there just for homeowners. And then Virginia, the amount could be $250 to $300 for individual taxpayers. Married couples could get up to $600 with the latest proposal there. Hawaii is going to provide a $100 check there. You would think with how expensive Hawaii is that they would get a higher stimulus check, but they're not. Ohio is going to get either $75 or 12% of their 2020 taxes, whichever amount is higher. So that's Idaho. And then the 12th state, which wasn't in that list. So lawmakers draft a bill for stimulus checks to residents. This is in Delaware. So Delaware is going to the state's record-setting surplus to give each resident a $300 stimulus check. So it's not saying it's going to be more or with couples or anything like that, but basically for 600,000 residents, they're going to get a potential $300 stimulus check. And then on a federal level, Democrats push for $300 a month stimulus checks to help Americans struggling to pay for sky-high gas prices as gasoline soars past $6 in LA, and 73% of voters say they back tax breaks. So to get to this first part, Democrats push for $300 a month stimulus checks. Those are the gas stimulus checks. Hasn't really gone anywhere, and the federal level in Congress hasn't really been endorsed. There's no vote set up. So although this does sound nice for every American to get this, at this point it hasn't really moved forward. Moving on to other news, so Chuck Schumer says he supports bipartisan talks on bill to lower insulin costs. Since insulin is like a life-saving drug or medicine, they're talking about that. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders calls for the cancellation of all medical debt. There's no legislation behind that. He's just saying that's what he wants. And then Schumer working with GOP to try to get a deal on coronavirus aid. This is separate from the Build Back Better or the Building a Better America bill. This is just coronavirus aid. Originally, I think it was going to be around $22.5 billion, and then the Democrats want $45 billion. So what Chuck Schumer says is, we are trying to get COVID relief. I'm working with Senator Romney and other Republicans in good faith to find some pay-fors that are acceptable to Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate. We hope to get it done. So this is going to be for new funding for vaccines, treatments, and testing. Then, like I said before, Romney working on GOP counteroffer to new Democrat COVID-19 funding plan. And so it looks like Democrats, Republicans working on this. Could be $22 billion, could be $45 billion. It could be much lower than that as well. I'll keep you updated. And then Biden warns of food shortages in wake of Russia-Ukraine war. It's going to be real because a lot of fertilizer could be withheld from Russia. They're a big fertilizer producer, and that could cause a big ripple effect in food shortages among many other supply chain issues and oil issues. Also, technical difficulty. Biden warns Russia NATO will respond if Kremlin uses chemical weapons. So President Biden answered a few questions at the NATO conference. Here is what he said, plus a few other updates. Take a look at this video clip.
Good evening. The free world must stay united to stop Vladimir Putin and make his barbaric invasion of Ukraine as painful as possible for Russia. That was the message from President Biden today. He delivered it during historic emergency summits of allied leaders in Brussels as Vladimir Putin wages an unprovoked war at NATO's doorstep.
Today marks 1 month since Russia began its carnage in Ukraine, the brutal invasion of Ukraine. The single most important thing is for us to stay unified and the world continue to focus on what a brute this guy is, and all the innocent people's lives are being lost and ruined.
The president announcing even more sanctions to punish Moscow as the Russian economy spirals. Mr. Biden also vowing to respond in kind if Putin uses chemical weapons in Ukraine. He did not spell out what the U.S. and NATO response might look like. Today, the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, accused Russia of using phosphorus bombs in Ukraine. Now, technically, white phosphorus is not considered a banned chemical weapon, but intentionally using it on civilians would be a war crime. Phosphorus is notorious for causing horrific injuries. It burns human flesh, sometimes down to the bone. As war rages, the Ukrainians are fighting back in a big way now. Look at this. Today we saw what could be the most stunning blow to the Russian war machine yet. The Ukrainians say they destroyed a Russian warship while it was docked at a port that the Russians occupied. Here it is, erupting like a volcano. You can see that other ships there were next to it. They pulled up anchor and sailed away from the burning wreck. One of those ships is also on fire. The Ukrainians say it was the same landing ship seen here. Russian state media broadcast video of it just days ago as it offloaded armored vehicles at that same port. The Ukrainian military mockingly thanked the Russian correspondent for his report on the ship's location. The destroyed ship was docked near the besieged and devastated city of Mariupol in southern Ukraine. New drone video shows hundreds of people waiting in long lines. Look at this. They just want food and humanitarian aid. You can see the charred, hulking ruins of apartment buildings in the background. We have team coverage tonight. NBC's Cal Perry reports from western Ukraine. First, CNBC senior White House correspondent Kayla Tausche, traveling with the president in Brussels. Kayla.
Shep, at a trio of emergency summits today in Brussels, President Biden and world leaders crafting plans to further isolate Russia while bracing for Vladimir Putin to unleash his deadliest weapons. NATO warning Russia it cannot win a nuclear war and sending equipment to Ukraine to protect against chemical attacks. A senior U.S. official says allies are discussing sending anti-ship missiles to Ukraine, but in an impassioned plea, Ukraine's president said he needs tanks and planes too.
You can give us just 1% of all your airplanes, just 1% of your tanks. We cannot simply buy it. Such shipment depends on NATO decisions, political decisions, volley fire systems, anti-ship weapons, air defense systems. How can we survive this war without such equipment?
Western allies remain committed to fighting the battle on the economic front. Biden wants to boot Russia from the G20, the G7 countries blocking the Kremlin from tapping its stash of gold, estimated to be worth more than $100 billion, to salvage its currency. A top Biden aide says Putin is propping up the Russian stock market, calling today's partial reopening after a month-long closure a charade. The U.S. today joining Europe in sanctioning all Russian lawmakers, the chief of its largest bank, and more than 40 state-owned defense companies. President Biden says the West will not stop until Putin does.
The maintenance of sanctions, the increasing the pain, and the demonstration why I asked for this NATO meeting today is to be sure that after a month, we will sustain what we're doing, not just next month, the following month, but for the remainder of this entire year. That's what will stop him.
As Europe tries to accelerate a move away from Russian energy, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen tomorrow will ask President Biden for enough natural gas to cover the next 2 winters. After that meeting, President Biden will head to Poland, where he'll visit the frigid front lines for millions of Ukrainian refugees. Shep?
What are your thoughts on that? And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is the tip of the day. Want me to tell you the one thing that you should do? You should, when you feel bad, take a couple deep breaths in and out. And also, after that, you can realize that things are better. So, bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. So things are a little bit different. My computer broke yesterday, my main computer, so I'm actually using a different computer, so things might not come out the same way as it was before. So we'll see how it goes. But also, I have a pickleball tournament tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, so I probably won't be able to get a video out for Saturday, just giving you a heads up. And hopefully you have a great weekend. If you want to check out any of my other videos, my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.